Karibu sana, and in case you're just joining us, don't worry, you're just in time for the second part of the program as we get into our health and lifestyle segment. And on this particular part of the program, we are going to be talking about the role of a father when it comes to childcare, especially postpartum, but we will also be touching a little bit about what the fathers can do even during pregnancy. Yes, that is the reason we are dedicating this platform for the fathers, because it has been taken that mothers are the ones who carry the biggest responsibility when it comes to taking care of a child during pregnancy and even when the child is still very young. A lot of fathers usually feel like they still do not know what to do, or they don't have much to do apart from providing. But here we are going to be breaking down that particular myth and to be telling you that fathers have an equally important role to play when it comes to bringing up a child into this particular world. And also they also suffer when it comes to postpartum depression. Did you know that even fathers can actually suffer postpartum depression? That is something that we will be discussing here, and how they are also impacted, how the pressure becomes so real, and what they can be able to do to navigate to help the mother and the baby and themselves when it comes to their state of mental health. So with me in studio, I have experts on this particular subject. Sitting on my far right, I have Dr. Paul Koigi. Dr. Paul Koigi is a consultant obstetrician. He's also a gynecologist and a fertility sub-specialist. Asante.
Morning.
We have with us Margaret Njuguna, a unit manager, Anderson Specialty Clinics at the Nairobi Hospital. Thank you so much for creating time. And also with us this morning, we have Simon Bevy. Simon is a pastor, founder and director, Transform Nations, and also runs a very important initiative, Man Enough initiative. The reason he's here is to be telling the men why they should be part of this great conversation that you're having this morning. But thank you, gentlemen and lady, for creating time. Okay, so we begin straight away, and I'll start with you, Simon, for obvious reasons. You know, we grow up in a society that has been cultured to believe that when it comes to malezi, especially when the baby is still very young or when the mother is pregnant, it's a woman's affair. Ni yeye aende clinic, ni yeye afanye kila kitu. They will only show up probably way later when the kid is graduating or you know, making milestones in life. I want us to break this down. Where is this coming from, and how is it affecting us as a society? Let's begin there. Why is it even a big deal for us to be having this conversation this morning?
Well, I think as you've said rightly, culturally they say, in many languages, they say children belong to the mother. So in a sense, the father only comes in way later. But what happens is that then the father doesn't create a relationship early in the child's life. Then we have seen conversations online where people are saying, why is it when fathers grow older, then they're neglected by their children, and the children are very close to their mother? Part of it is that, of course, it's a myth. Fathers are needed by their children, and they need to be involved from very young. But another reason is why fathers don't get involved is sometimes you don't know what you're supposed to do. I remember when, of course, I went with my own wife to the clinics, and I wanted to know how the development is going. I was there holding her hand.
You are among the few.
Walking with her. So at least I had a relationship. Even before the child was born, I felt like I had a relationship with the child. I've seen the pictures. I would speak, to the child, as it were, even when the child was still in the womb. But I was very close to the mother, and that really helped, because by the time the child arrived, because I was there for the birth, for the delivery, then I felt I belong here. I belong here. But I understand many fathers, because like when the child was very young, of course they need their mother way more. The breastfeeding and many other things that the mother gets directly involved in. And there are times I would feel a little neglected. And I've had fathers say that. I feel like when a child falls and has to get help, they run to their mother. They're not running to me. And I needed to understand that. But some fathers actually just step away and feel like this is too messy. I can't change the diapers. I'll leave that to the mother. But it's denying ourselves an opportunity to connect with the baby.
Great.
So it's not good for us. And neither is it good for the child. And neither is it good for the mother. We need all to work together because that's an intense time.
All right.
And we need the involvement of everyone. So I think we need to change that mentality and realize children belong to both parents. Socially, psychologically, and practically, children need both parents right from very young.
Great, and we are here to talk about exactly how to make that practical and to make it to work. And Margaret, also just to rope you in on the same issue I raised. Right now, I believe even in the health system, childcare is shifting to look at the whole dynamic of having not just a happy mother, a happy baby, but also a happy father, like the three dimensions. Talk to us about the significance of this transition in childcare. Where is it coming from, and what possible outcomes are we looking at, with just insisting on investing on these three arms of childcare? Let me call it that.
Okay. Thank you, Safin. What you notice is once a baby is born, a mother and a father is born. You cannot be a mother or a father without a baby.
Oh, yeah.
So with that come into play, what does that mean? There are a lot of changes that will happen. The home has an addition. And what will also happen is there are a lot of dynamics that have to change. So if you're not involved from the word go, going for those clinics, planning on how to await this baby, that shift of the dynamics in the home, the changes in sleep pattern, the changes in your budget, the changes in making health decisions, then that will be a problem. So when you get involved from the word go, knowing that we are working on this together, a happy baby, a happy mother, and a happy mother. That will be a happy home and eventually a happy society. As Simon has rightly put, we've always thought it's the mother's role. And that is why babies tend to run to their mothers. But we need to realize that the fathers have a role to play. Right from going to the hospital, coming for the clinics, understanding why the baby needs this or the other, so that when your wife tells you, I need money for the clinic, you're not asking. You were in the clinic last week. What are you going to do again? So you start appreciating the dynamics of taking care of this baby, both emotionally, financially. When the baby cries at night, are you the father that will tell the mother, please go to the next room? You people are making noise. But when you work as one unit, then that bond starts being created. And then we'll not have a scenario, as Pastor is saying, that in old age, men are lonely because they were not part of it. So we need to cultivate this from the word go. Mothers have, I would say, an advantage because the baby is in your womb from the word go. You're eating, the baby feeds from what you're eating. So how do the fathers come along? When you come for the clinics, babies can hear you in utero. So when you speak...
He says he used to speak.
Yes, speak to your babies.
Before birth.
Yes, they can hear. So they resonate with that voice. We have aunties which people say, this is the best auntie. Why? Because she's probably the one who was accompanying the niece to the hospital. So the baby got used to this voice. So fathers speak to your babies, even in utero, make those trips, and that bond is cultivated from the word go, and so we nurture it going forward. Yes.
Daktari, you deal with mothers a lot. Women come to your clinic, and do you see a lot of men, and probably is this concerning, and what do you think is the challenge that this poses to you now as a health expert?
As a doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you. You actually find that on average it will usually be about 1 in 5 to about 5% to 10% of fathers who will actually tend to show up for the clinic without being nudged to show up. But because we do acknowledge the fact that the contribution of the father is beyond more than just being a sperm donor and a financial provider. Even during the course of the pregnancy, you actually find that if a complication arises, because in pregnancy a complication can arise suddenly, occur unexpectedly, and escalate rapidly and put the lives of both the mother and the baby at risk. So when we get the fathers involved, you actually find that the father can be empowered to save both the mother and the baby. So when the mother comes to the clinic alone, we actually usually routinely encourage them. Next time, let him say. So that we can get him involved in the equation, we can get him to understand how to support you, why you need the support, and to start preparing him for the journey of care after the delivery process. So that's how we try to add fuel to the fire of getting men engaged into the reproductive health equation.
All right. Before you look at the social aspect of their contribution, health-wise, in terms of the well-being of the child when they're still in the womb and even in the first days of after birth, what is the role of a father? You know, many would ask, so mi tafanya? I mean, it's the mother, yeye ndiye ananyonyesha, yeye ndiye anafaa kukula healthy. I mean, what is my role? You know, apart from just the social aspect, but what else can they do to improve the health of this baby?
Yes, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
One that really enhances the opportunity for the men to engage in the process. So during the course of the pregnancy, as we mentioned earlier, the man, if he is empowered with knowledge of how to provide an initial response to medical emergencies, then he is present, he is engaged, he is aware, and he will trigger a good emergency response that will ensure that if an emergency arises, we have a plan that can get this lady and the baby in her to the hospital quickly in order to seek medical attention. While present in the hospital, then he is also empowered, because of having been engaged from the beginning, to be part and parcel of the decision-making process. Say, for instance, an unexpected complication, like say the placenta prematurely separating inside the uterus occurs, and then the mother starts bleeding and the baby starts bleeding from the placenta. And it means that that's an emergency. And if you don't respond within 4 or 5 minutes, you have a high risk of losing the baby, and the risk of losing the mother shoots up. So that might necessitate a cesarean section. So having the husband being present and engaged means that he will not drop the woman at the hospital at night, go home or go out to drink, and then come back in the morning and find that things were you know, and find that things were done without his input. Because those are the things that make a man begin to disengage. Because if you look at the psychology of a man, the man wants to feel respected, he wants to feel appreciated, and he wants to actually engage. Most of them would, just that they don't know how to begin the discussion, which is why I think the Man Enough initiative carries a lot of significance, because it provides a platform and empowers men with the ability to communicate better that they want to be involved in the process. So if he's involved from the beginning, then at whatever stage that the beginning is for them as a couple, as long as he gets in and he gets committed, then there's a lot of value. You find that after delivery, you'll find that the man will actually have a lot to do. Unfortunately, our systems are not very supportive towards men being engaged in parental responsibilities, because you find, like here in Kenya, the man will only get 10 days of paid paternity leave. In Uganda, I think he will get only 4. And in Tanzania, he will only get 3. But the mother, it's not enough, and the mother will only get 3 months. And you find that in the developed world, there are actually countries that can offer mothers and fathers a period of about 6 months each. And in certain spaces, you can actually get them being given up to a year, so that you minimize the responsibilities outside the home, because of acknowledging the value of this new child who has been born into the family. And if I may add one more small thing to that, I think that discussion becomes very crucial, especially in situations where things did not go as expected. For instance, if a baby was born with deformities, it becomes an immediate challenge to the very fiber of the family. And so those are some of the things that can contribute to that.
Yeah. You've mentioned,
maybe just something there.
Go ahead.
Talks about the fathers getting leave.
Yes.
But we have had some who get leave and then they go to do some side.
Actually, that's something else.
Yes.
When they're given paternity leave,
Yes.
do they stay at home? Do they stay at home with the family, or they take advantage of the 2 weeks to just go and do their own thing?
Maybe part of what the doctors and nurses need to do is men come in for those clinics. They need to be educated on what is their role. Because when a man feels, I don't have a place, or I don't know what to do. Men hate just feeling incompetent. So they'd rather stay away than not knowing what to do. So maybe the medics could help and be able to say, when delivery was happening for me because I was there, the doctor helped by telling me, stand here and rub the back, do this. So I felt useful.
You mean you were there in the heat of the moment?
So I felt useful. But even just standing there, walking around and wondering what's going on.
And checking the time when
go
it's
to the
taking
office
hours.
and come back later.
All right. Margaret, what he has mentioned is very key. Probably you can even cite examples of what has worked for you as an institution. I mean, what is it that you're doing to change the narrative? Because we're coming from even days when there could be a man who wanted to accompany the wife to hospital, but they get there and the whole queue are women, nurses. I mean, there is nobody that looks like him that he can relate with there. What is it that is being done to just sort of like make the environment relatable and make the whole process conducive even for men to fit in and to feel like they have an active role to play?
One of the things that we've done as in Nairobi Hospital, especially like in the Anderson clinics where we run the antenatal clinic, we've made the place very accommodative. The way the clinic is set up, we have an area that is dedicated for mothers and fathers and babies. So when you come in, you actually are able to relate. These are people coming for the same common service. And what also we have incorporated is health education. So we have sessions whereby we talk to you why you need to be in this process. So there are nurses engaging the fathers as well for them to know what they need to do. I know another issue with fathers is they're very impatient. They come, they're like, you need to register, go to billing, and then go and wait and see the doctor. So what we have done, we have also aligned our clinics in a way. When your wife is coming for antenatal, your baby is coming for vaccination, we have an option for you going for your clinic, your wellness clinic, within the same setup. So then, as the father is doing their wellness checkup or they're seeing the physician, the wife and the baby can be
so
seen.
everyone is busy.
Everybody is busy. But what we encourage is come in. When the baby is getting the vaccine, then you know, why is my baby getting the oral polio vaccine, for example. And you understand from the nurse, when this baby gets injected, they're likely to cry at night, they'll be irritable. So when in the house, then you know, I was told to expect this. And also, you also appreciate what are the developmental milestones. Why is this baby making funny faces at this point in life? Why are they not walking at this time? So you're able even to engage, even if it's a therapist, are they enough? So for us, we have asked the fathers, please come. We have also some products you can enjoy because we discourage what we see a lot. You drop the mother at parking and tell them, call me when you're ready.
When you're done.
When you're done. And so we need them to be useful. In fact, what you'll find in a lot of our well baby clinic nurses doing is they ask the dad, please come closer, because others will carry the bag and sit. I think we also want to encourage, probably Simon can help the fathers to tell them, when you come into the clinic, also engage. Because others shy away. They're thinking this is a women affair. No, it's not a women affair. It's everybody's affair. This is our baby, so we need to be doing something for them. So as an institution, we've been very deliberate to make sure that the facility accommodates you and there are people who are there to engage you.
And I think this should go both ways because we still have institutions that have not gotten to this level of reality where it is even the nurses who would ask the father, ngojea hapo nje. Yeah. Sasa ushamleta, wewe unaweza ngoja hapo nje. You know, it's actually if a health person tells you that, then it's instructions. That means maybe they need their space or something like that. But then I think we also need to have this conversation both ways, for the facility and also even for the families that are coming, that it's actually important. Let's get to the social aspect, Simon. You know, when a baby is coming into this world, there is so much that is happening in terms of even how they are developing and what they need for them to become sort of like a 360 human being. I want you to break that down for us, because you're talking to men, and I think this came from a challenge that we suffered in the absenteeism of men when it comes to bringing up their families. And I want to talk about the 360 approach of bringing a human being into this world. What is the role of the man? What is the role of the woman? And how does it help us to bring up a generation of people who can actually make a good society? Because that is part of what you're pushing for.
No, that's a good question. I would say 6 things, just quickly. Number 1 is support and love for the mother of a child. The more I support my wife when she is pregnant, so that then she carries her pregnancy well, and I'm there to walk with her, and you know, during birth and when we go home, I'm supporting her, washing the baby when she's doing something else. That makes it easy then for the child to grow up in a healthy environment. So loving and supporting the mother of a child, to me, is the first contribution a father makes to the well-being of a child. But secondly, is just being present with the child. Those connections. I mean, we're talking about touch, we're talking about voice, them recognizing your voice. Mothers have an advantage, as you said. There's mother instinct. Fathers are introduced to their child, in a sense, because there was no biological connection from the beginning, from the womb and all of that. So if the father is not intentionally present, in fact, the training we do, we call it intentional dads, because many fathers are just there, but there's no intentionality. If you're intentional in being present from those early years, then by the time they get to teenage, you have a relationship. Many people say, it's so hard to bring up a teenager. How do I do it? I say, start when they are 3, and when they are 4, then you're building the relationship that will survive through teenage. So be present. We did a study there some years ago that was shocking for us men. And we realized that an average father in Nairobi spends only 9 minutes on average a day with their family.
9 minutes out of 24 hours. Not even 30 minutes.
And,
that's alarming.
Give me food and all of that. So it's not enough time at all. And so the children will feel, I say a lot of children are underfathered. They're too little of fatherhood for their good. So fathers need to be present. And then thirdly, they need to, of course, be protective. And protection is not just the physical. And the physical is there. Like children when they're young, boys, they jump a lot and do a lot of things. I remember my son putting beads inside the ear, the nose, to rush him to hospital a few times. But just being there to be protective, because a mother can't do that alone. It's a joint work. Be protective, psychologically, physically, and otherwise. The other one is, of course, provision we have talked about. Be there to know what they need and then provide for them. Sometimes we just give them money. But if I'm there and interacting with the kids, I can see the needs and I don't have to be told, provide for this. And through provision, then you create a relationship. The other one I say is being like a priest, teaching values. A lot of times we say it's mothers who teach values, but it's because they are present. If I'm there and I see the child doing something that is wrong, then I'll say, no, don't do that. This is wrong. So I'm having my voice voice in teaching them values to live well later. So being like a priest, making sure that you're talking to them. There are some things my father taught me when I was young. I still remember them. Yeah. Things about honesty. But he repeated many times when I was young until now it's become part of me. And lastly is being, of course, like a prophet, to call them out and correct them and encourage them. A lot of fathers, the only voice children hear is, don't do that. You're stupid. You know, things like that you should never say to children. But they don't hear the words, oh, you're so bright. Oh, you did that well. And here is how you could do this a little differently. That kind of voice then will help guide your children into a better tomorrow, like prophets do. Right. So being supportive to the mother and loving the mother, being a present, which is where we lack a lot, being a protector, provider, priest and prophet.
All right. And Daktari, just also to rope you in, you know, people think the pressure, you know, when a woman is expectant, there is a lot that happens. There is the pressure and anxiety, even after she delivers. Usually they suffer a lot of changes and they feel like sometimes it can become so overwhelming. People feel like these changes happen only to women. Talk to us about whether men also feel this pressure of pregnancy. And I came across a term that I loved, expectant fathers. You know, people think it's only the women who are expectant. What are some of the things that they go through emotionally, the stress, and, you know, let's
maybe, Dr. as you answer, you could speak into this. A friend of mine was in the hospital waiting for delivery, and he just felt really powerless. What can I do? I mean, I can't do anything. My wife is crying and saying she's almost dying. You know? So you know what happened? He fainted. So now they didn't know, do we help the mother or the father?
Well, that has happened quite a bit.
Let's talk about what happens to the men during this season.
So during the season of pregnancy, you find that it's one of the most humbling periods of a man's life, when the woman that you love is undergoing a substantive life change, and that life change is going to affect you as well for the rest of your life, regardless of the outcome of the pregnancy. We pray that it's good, but not, in reality, not 100% of outcomes are good. So you find that there's a lot of anxiety. So men who are having pregnant wives and partners tend to have a lot of anxiety because they're always worried. Is something wrong with the baby? Every time they see a message, they're always jumping and answering it. Is there something wrong with the baby if they're actually invested? And so they may have anxiety-related issues. A few may actually develop prepartum depression, particularly if the pregnancy is a complicated one. Because in a high-risk pregnancy, things like intimate relations, the ability to have intimate relations during the pregnancy may be compromised or even proscribed. You're told, for as long as this condition persists, please do not go near her that way. Of course, it becomes very depressing. Then, during the process of delivery, as Pastor Simon mentioned, you find that some men may not be able to stomach what they see on that day. So
some never recover. Some have said, I will never have another baby because of what I saw my wife go through.
In fact, yes. And some actually even say that they can't even go near a woman after that. Some of them actually have their libido disappear altogether.
Because of what they saw.
And then after delivery, you find that now paternity leave was only 10 days. During the 10 days, he was getting tutorials. And for most of those 10 days, maybe 4 or 5 were spent in the hospital, having the mother recover from the immediate delivery process and being shown this is how you bathe the baby. And you're given a few secrets. You're told that if you want to do well with a baby, you just need to do 3 things. Keep the baby clean, keep the baby warm, and keep the baby fed. 3 things. So you're like, okay, fine, let's go home. 3 things: keep the baby clean, keep the baby warm, keep the baby fed. If he's invested in those 3 things, then he will definitely be present. But of course, you find that even his own testosterone levels may begin to dwindle because anxiety does not bode well for your hormones that sustain you as well. So even men go through certain hormonal changes. The hormones that are associated with stress, like cortisol and adrenaline, can shoot up. And the hormones that are associated with well-functioning of the man, like testosterone, can easily drop very far.
During that time.
During that time. And after the delivery, you find that some men have a lot of trouble coming to terms with the fact that he has to wake up in the middle of the night, be part and parcel of the process. He can't say, go to the next room, you guys are disturbing me. He also needs to wake up. And every now and then say, tell the wife, you sleep, I have this. And it's possible for a man to be awake from 2 a.m. to 5 o'clock in the morning, and at 6 o'clock he has to leave the house to go to work.
Yes.
So he will go to work cranky, sleepy, have trouble performing, and sit back and start feeling that if I lose this job,
now I have somebody who depends.
And I have someone else, and the financial profile of the house is changing, and expenses have shot up unexpectedly, then he becomes even more anxious, and that can trigger postpartum depression. It can trigger detachment. It can trigger a refusal to participate in the process. It can trigger him to get into consumption of smoking and alcohol and begin using even hard drugs, which may now not only fail to empower him to support the family, but might actually cripple the home.
All right, that's well expounded. You know, many never really thought that there's so much that is happening in the world of the men during this time. Like you have laid it bare this morning. And you'll tell us a bit about some of the signs to look out for the depression in men during this season. But before you get there, Margaret, just to also talk to us about the significance of the well-being of both parents and how it trickles down to the baby. Because he has talked about so much that happens to the man, and at least based on the awareness we've had, we know what happens to women post-pregnancy and even during pregnancy. So putting this cocktail together, what is the significance of the well-being of parents, and how does it trickle down to the baby?
Okay, you notice a pregnancy takes not just 9 months. There's a pre-pregnancy period. So a woman needs to be healthy. By healthy, we're not only talking about the physical, it's also the mental. Because you notice if a lady is pregnant and they have mental issues, that predisposes them to even having complications, abortions. If a mother is not mentally stable, then they're likely even to eat things that they shouldn't be eating. We've heard of finding mothers in clubs drinking. That means there's a problem. If the father is not well, as Dr. Koigi put it, then he may not be emotionally stable to be able to support this pregnant wife. And what will that mean? When the baby is born, then one, if the woman is not healthy, both mentally and physically, they'll not be able to handle the baby. Then we have a father here who is also does not understand all these changes that have happened. The home, they were used to just being the two of them or just you alone. Now you have a little somebody who does not know day or night. So if you're not mentally ready, then this creates a challenge. We know that for a mother to be able to breastfeed well, they need to eat healthy, sleep well, and even take care of themselves. So what will that mean? An unhealthy mother, breast milk will go down. We know that we want a baby breastfed for the first 6 months, exclusive. And breast milk is the best medicine for any baby. So that means the health of this baby is compromised from the word go. The ripple effect of this is this baby will always be in hospital because there is neglect for lack of feeding. This mother and father will not understand the 3 basics: feeding the baby, keeping the baby clean, keeping the baby warm. So this baby may stay in a dirty environment. They're not well protected. So then the cycle continues. A sick baby, hospital trips, finances are dwindling. It means if these people are not healthy, then they are also not being able to function at work, for example. So the father will go to work, he will not function. He will get a show cause letter, so to speak. So he is stressed. What does he do? From work, he doesn't go home. He goes to the boys. to try and
One,
take
two,
away
1, 2, eh?
1, 2, 1, 2. And then he's told, why are you at home? Men
They
are
say
not
they
supposed-
consult. They're going to consult
They're going
each
to
other.
consult.
Man cave. Huh?
Man cave. So in this consultation, he's asked, what is happening? You know, I have a small baby, they are crying at night.
Yeah.
No, you should have them send them maybe to the grandmother, you know? So what does that mean? There is that now emotional detachment. So the mother is frustrated, the baby is frustrated. So we need to make sure that the physical health of a mother is managed, the physical health of the father is managed, because then for that unit to work, they have to work together.
okay, yeah.
Because again, a sick baby is it's a very strenuous exercise. Trips to the hospital. And what people don't realize, when you come to hospital, you risk even picking other things. Infections, even those, any treatment that you have, it has an effect. Even that Panadol that we talk about has an effect on your kidneys. But if we can manage this by just doing proper diet, taking rest, you can imagine if you have a small baby and they are crying throughout the day, and then they are awake at night. So what you do, you take turns. The mother takes the baby for 1 hour, the father rests. When the baby wakes up, the father takes the baby, they take a walk, and he can tell them, you know, fathers tell kids that prophesy, you're going to be the king, you know, they're moving.
Even as young as
they are,
toddler.
yes, talk to
Yeah,
them.
you need to do
yes,
that.
do that. Take them around, show them the shambas that they're going to acquire.
Really?
And then leave the mother to rest. When that mother wakes up, she'll be very overjoyed because she'll find 2 happy people waiting for her.
Yeah.
Then the father can take time to rest, and you find involve them even in the cooking. Go and prepare us a nice meal. That mother will sit, will breastfeed the baby very well, because I can tell you, even breastfeeding is not easy.
It's work.
It is work. It is work. Yeah. People think it's natural. No, it is not. Having the baby know how to latch well, and even having the mother do it well. Ask a mother who have had cracked nipples what it means.
Tell you. Yeah.
Ask a father who has not slept because the baby was screaming at night.
And you don't know what's happening.
And you don't know what is happening. They can't talk to you, so you need to figure out, is it the pamper? You change the pamper, it is dry. Are they feeling cold? Are they feeling hot? You don't understand. But if you work together, then you're able now to balance that equation, and it becomes easier for everybody in the family.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe just to add, some of the frustrating things I've heard fathers say is that they're trying to find their space because the grandmother is here, the house help is here, the mother is here.
Everyone comes. And then the baby and the mother are the star of the show. Sort of like they are now in the outside world.
Actually, a lot of fathers complain. They feel like now their attention has gone to the new arrival. Nobody even cares about whether I have food or not. And that's why I challenge them and say, you've got to take care of yourself. It's for the good of a family. You're the one who was involved in bringing up the child. But the first few months, a lot of fathers say, I feel like the attention is on the baby. So nobody now cares about me. And it's good to have those conversations so that then you don't get stressed. Something else that stressed me is that fact of you don't know, you know, men, I think we are wired to solve problems.
Yes.
So when we don't know what's the problem. This child is just crying. We don't know what's the problem. Mothers sometimes seem to have an instinct on what is the problem. And maybe that's why we have mother tongue and not father tongue. The patience we need to develop. So what I'll tell the fathers is, let's develop patience. It's part of what we will need later with these preteens and teens. Right. So let's use this time to grow ourselves.
Right. Talking about patience, there's something I want us to talk about with a lot of caution because it's daytime TV. So you find somebody, as soon as, the women who complain that they lost their marriages as soon as they became pregnant. They were just fine as a couple, everything was going on well, but then unfaithfulness trickled in during pregnancy and even after, because it's at that period you're told you have to stay away from your wife. Sometimes there are complications that come and it may take longer than expected. Men usually, not all of them, that's a disclaimer, usually take advantage of this season when the wife is pregnant to now go hunting out there. From a social perspective, please address the men.
Definitely that's not fair because you're the cause of this baby. And this is for the good of both of you. So now, and that has happened actually. I think I should say and acknowledge that I've had a few men, my friends, who have found themselves there. And some of them it was intentional, some of them they just drifted away because of feeling then neglected at home. And it's not like they cannot control themselves. I think we're as humans, we can always control our emotions. And we can wait out until the right time. And there are other ways of intimacy. It's not just sexual intimacy. There are other ways of still being close and working together with your wife for fulfillment of intimacy needs. But a lot of men just feel like, all right, they begin to get close to someone else as they talk about the baby, and before they know it, they're being unfaithful. And in a few cases which I've been involved in where the mother got to know, of course, in a few cases, the marriage was over. And the man now is the one who was saying, I really want to connect with my baby. But he's the one who messed up in the first place. So I think what I'll tell the men, let's be faithful. Part of bringing up the child is loving their mother and being faithful to the mother.
Say that 100 times. Give you time.
The best gift someone has said that you can give to a child is love their mother, because that's their mother. And if now you begin to cheat on her, then what are you saying to the baby? And when they find out eventually that happened, what relationship do you have with the baby? You're really spoiling for yourself as a father by cheating on your wife. So I would say for the men, let's be disciplined. But also let's have support groups. And we do something for new fathers, actually, in our Intentional Dad program, where we bring them together so that they talk to each other. Because when a man is going through some issues and has no one to talk to, then easily they'll end up with another person, or a lady or someone else who seems to understand what they're going through. But if they have a support group where they say, oh, that's happening in your home, even in my home, then that helps to encourage each other and realize I'm not alone in this. But lastly, I think just to say to the mothers, please speak to your man. Speak to your man, because sometimes they just keep quiet and they're not talking and we don't know what to do. And, sometimes it's okay and safe to continue to have relations, but the lady just doesn't want and feels like, I don't want to get involved. I was handling a case which wasn't medical, where the lady for a year said, no, I don't want to be touched. And of course, you're making it difficult. And there was no, sometimes there are medical reasons, but there wasn't in this case. She just didn't feel like, and she didn't want to talk about it.
All right.
So let there be conversations.
If I can contribute a little bit to that same discussion, I think the overall key for a situation like that, one of the reasons why we encourage even the men to come for the clinics after delivery is so that we can actually start those conversations. And I think one of the things that I've taken home from what Pastor is talking about, if I can summarize it in 2 words, is objective intentionality. That you have to purposefully decide to be intentional to make sure that you preserve the pillars of your home. For instance, for the woman, we say, remember, this is still your husband. Show him that respect, that you show him that he still is valuable to you. He is not just present as Baba Watoto.
And a provider.
Exactly. So he's not just Baba Watoto and a wallet. And for the man, we say, please remember to show her that she is still the baby girl Toto. that you spent your time pursuing and actually got and spent a lot of time and energy getting to be with her. You committed time, you committed energy, you committed resources. Now that the baby has come into the picture, please don't throw the mother away in favor of the baby, because now that will make each parent now start resenting the child for the complications happening within their relationship, and then compromise their relationship with each other, which can break the home.
All right. I wanted to add on that as well. Kwanza kwa hiyo ya baby girl. Despite the fact that ameongeza nyama here, there, that reassurance from the man that you still looking good is usually very important.
Very, very important. What I must say is, of course, pregnancy comes with a lot of issues, and that is why when you journey the journey with your wife, you are able to understand her. Because they, as Daktari has put it, even men have their emotions, their hormone issues. So when you work together, you're able to understand each other. And when you look at that aspect of having your mother-in-law is in the house girl is there, when you work together, you'll actually realize you may not need these people. So you have your own space, and you're able to manage your own affairs together. But what we are telling fathers, please come to the clinics, because we have programs that are helping them cope with this. Because when you're together with your peers and you hear, this is happening in my home, so I know what to do. We've made it an intention as Nairobi Hospital to even have forums where we can bring the mothers, the fathers, and the babies together to be able to appreciate, what do I expect in pregnancy, what do I expect with a newborn baby. For example, this Saturday we have such an event, just to bring the whole family together. We are calling it Daddy, Mommy, and Baby Affair. Come and stay with us for a whole morning.
Family affair.
It's a family affair. It's on a Saturday. Please, for the fathers, don't go out on Friday so much. Be in the home so that you wake up. From 8 a.m., we are ready for you. And we'll take care of you. We entertain your kids. We talk to you as a father, as a mother. How do you deal with a pregnant woman? When she gives birth, and for example, in normal delivery, there will be changes in her body. So how do you support her at that point when you cannot be intimate with her? Then you get to understand what are the changes that are happening. As Pastor put it, that some men faint in labor ward. If you've gone through the journey, you'll be able to understand during delivery, this is what to expect. Then you will not go and faint. You'll be ready. You will not go to club to celebrate, I have a baby boy, and leave your wife in pain in nursery. Or in maternity ward. You'll be there to understand, why is she bleeding this much? What do we need to do? When do we go to the hospital? So let also be very intentional. And fathers, please talk. You know, men have also shied away from talking because even we tell our boys at home, umeanguka, kwa nini unalia? No, let the men cry when they need to cry, but crying in quotes, seek for help. Because sometimes it can be very overwhelming. You need to provide, you need to be a good father. You also need to be at work. Paternity leave was 2 weeks. 5 weeks was used in the hospital. So you only have 5 days. And probably your mother is asking, why have you not done this? Why have you not done that?
Mjengo ijaisha, huku nyumbani, you have a new baby, you're learning to be a father. There is a lot going on.
There's a lot happening. So even the extended family would ask them, please support. You can support from far, because sometimes you find that space that is having the house girl, the mother-in-law, the sister-in-law, it's probably 2 rooms. You know, we have also to accept the dynamics are there. And sometimes the fathers are not able to tell maybe the sister-in-law to go away, because that will now culturally will be bad. You sent away the relatives, my relatives. So when you work together, you are able to understand what to expect. And so you can actually deal with it, the two of you, without having other people coming into play, because that now disintegrates the whole affair.
Well said, Margaret. I'm having a very few minutes left, and I want us all to have a round of parting shots. But Daktari, just run us through very quickly some telltale signs to look out for, just to notice that something is off with this man, and maybe we need to support him or help him, because we rarely even look at the men and notice that something has changed. And in terms of management, what is being done or what can be done?
Well, I think the most important sign we can start off with is that men are very simple. We go where we are happy. So you find that if the man is in a space where he's feeling neglected, or he's feeling abandoned, or he's feeling incompetent, the first thing that will tell you that there is a likelihood that there is anxiety kicking in is that he doesn't want to be at home. So he finishes with work and goes out to be with the boys to consult. Secondly, you may find that he's trickling down into depression if he is waking up in the morning, he's having trouble falling asleep at night, but when he wakes up in the morning, he has no initiative to push himself to go to work. Is there sitting thinking, this doesn't matter because I can't perform here? Because men take failure and rejection very hard. And they don't know how to express it. They are not culturally empowered to address that. So at least if you can identify the signs of anxiety and depression first, then we find that you're actually getting somewhere. statistically, we say that about 8 to 10% of men develop paternal postpartum depression. But remember, men generally do not seek help unless men usually go to hospital when they're dying.
They are taken to hospital. They don't go, they are taken to hospital.
They are
taken. Literally. And in that context, you find that because men are so poor at health seeking, that 8 to 10% is a lie. It's probably at least 3 to 4 times higher. You'll find that 2 out of every 5 fathers, on average, will tend towards developing this postpartum depression. Nobody engages him, and therefore he goes out drinking, and that's where all these other social problems.
And it's okay to seek help. Let's tell men.
Yes.
Unfortunately, let me also give Pasi a few seconds just to close this up for us.
Just to say to the men, let's be engaged and intentional dads. That's how we contribute to the world of society and our families. Let's intentionally make time to be there for the children. But also, secondly, let's love and support our wives, especially as they go through the postpartum depression. Let's show affection. Let's affirm them in their role, because it can be very hard those early days for the moms. And let's also just celebrate them for what they're doing. So affection, affirmation, and acceptance. Just accept them and not begin to say, hey, you need to look differently. Let's accept them and be there with them. I love a verse as I close, James 1:19. That helped me a lot as a young father. Be slow to speak, slow to be angry, and quick to listen. So really quickly listen to your wife and see what's going on. But don't judge quickly, don't be angry quickly, be there and be supportive.
All right, thank you so much for saying that, and thank you all for creating time. And I believe that men take advantage of these forums and these opportunities that are being given at the health facilities to just go and learn and get to hear. Expose yourself to information, and you will know how to react next time you face a crisis as a family. They have said men usually feel bad when they're helpless. So find yourself in a spot where you can learn and arm yourself with information on what you can be able to do. I've been having this conversation with a panel of 2 gentlemen and a lady. On my far right, Dr. Paul Koigi is a consultant obstetrician, gynecologist, and a fertility subspecialist. We've also been engaging Margaret Njuguna, unit manager, Anderson Specialty Clinics at the Nairobi Hospital, and of course also Pastor Simon Bevy, founder and director, Transform Nations, also running the Man Enough initiative, just building men to become more present and more important in the society. Of course, that is how we wrap it up on this particular program. Thank you so much for creating time for Daybreak this morning. It's a wrap. Have a lovely day ahead.